cut my phone off. I guess everywhere I go, everybody tell me to silence your phone, but we don't do it here. Anyway, the first thing on our agenda is the flood damage prevention ordinance, and you got that? You the flood man? Well, thank you. Come tell us about flood.
Basically, the ordinance that is before you is to update our existing floodplain ordinance. We last updated it in 2018. FEMA from time to time comes out with required revisions that they ask us to make, actually require us to make in order to stay into the floodplain insurance program. And so basically the main changes that we have in there are in, I think it's Article 5, there's a lot of new addition of definitions that they are requiring to be added into the ordinances that weren't previously there. But other than that, there's really no changes to the way our ordinance has been working.
This brings in compliance.
Yes.
That's all. Okay. Any questions?
That's most of it, yeah. That's the main thing. There's a couple other little tweaks here and there, but nothing that's going to affect the way we operate our program and have been operating for a number of years.
I remember when, and this may be totally different from that, but I remember when we was having the budget hearings, may have been 2 years ago. Either way, something was brought up that there was a plan being worked on that when we implement it in the city of Montgomery, it's going to cause the insurance in the flood areas to go down.
Yes, we have been working on what's called the CRS program. We're trying to get the city entered into that program, in which case they come in and grade what you do, your activities that are ongoing to regulate the floodplain. And of course, the more activities you do, the higher classification rating you get. And so we're actively in that process now. But the COVID has really kind of slowed us down, so we need to have some meetings and that sort of stuff. So we would have got really kicked off back in the spring, but we kind of
because of COVID. Yeah, I was thinking this was something close to that, and I was like, good.
Yeah, actually keeping the floodplain ordinance up to date helps in that regard as well.
And then you said the program is CRS?
CRS, Community Rating System is what it's called.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Jenwright,
Yes, sir.
can I change gears and ask Patrick a question that I think would, and I know Chris is out there and I didn't even know Patrick was going to be here, but can I ask him a question that's unrelated to this?
Yeah.
And Patrick knows where I'm headed with this. The paving issue, and I wanted the council to know. Patrick has been working very hard in trying to find a solution to some of our paving issues. Charlie, I've talked to you about.
Yeah.
Instead of laying asphalt down, there's different types, and Patrick, you can explain it, there's different types of processes that are better, micro resurfacing, that you get 5 to 6 to 8 years longer out of the pavement. It can cost half the price of paving if you can find the right job and have enough jobs. But what I wanted to talk to the council about, since Patrick was here, and I've sent Chip a couple of text messages, is I think the city ought to look at, and I've talked to Patrick and talked to Chris about it, I think the city ought to look at not reinventing the wheel, but doing something similar to what these other companies are doing. We have the manpower, and it would buy us time in our paving process. Instead of paving $100,000 a mile, if the city were doing it, Patrick, micro resurfacing, and as you guys know, neighborhoods like black asphalt, that's what they want to see. And if we could do it for half the price, I think it's something, Charlie, that this city ought to look at in starting, quote, a process like this.
But I've just been investigating myself, and I understand it's more expensive than just maybe a 1 inch of asphalt.
For a contractor cost, what we have looked at, a contractor cost is generally what we've priced so far is somewhere around $5 a square yard, when we can do 1 inch of asphalt with our own paving crews for about $3. And so I think what Glenn is referring to is maybe the city potentially purchasing
getting
the equipment, getting into the business.
Yes.
ourselves. And that would be something Chris would have to speak to later.
Okay, because now that if we could do it,
That's what I'm talking about, Charlie. I'm talking about us getting in the business of it.
because
Yes,
your neighborhoods don't need the big stuff, they could use less.
It's a lot of it, Charlie. You know, our
You know, we
trash
looked at
company-
the slur, what do you call it? This
Microsurfacing is
no,
one
not
of-
microservices, Mike. It was the slurry seal.
Okay.
You put this, you just put a seal on
Well,
you.
that's the seal, Charlie, that you see and I know way too much about this
Liquid
stuff,
seal.
that you do the parking lots with,
Yeah.
but you gotta stay off of it for 24 hours.
That's the only
neighborhoods
problem with it,
can't do
right? And I understand it doesn't last that long anyway. It's on a normal street, it would get beat up pretty quick.
The challenge with what you see in parking lots, they require a long time, over 24 hours
Right.
for that to kind of
Right.
sit and nobody to
Yeah.
run on it. The microsurfacing can be done and really within about a 4-hour window.
And Patrick, that's the black asphalt, not the gray we were looking at. That's that black.
Patrick, they were going to do some of that in Elmore County. To the MPO, we saw
Yeah.
that they were going to do some. Did they ever do that?
Elmore County has done some. It's one of the pavement preservation techniques out there. Elmore County's done some, and so has
But it's
City
on
of Platteville has done
straight out
some.
county roads where they go.
Yeah,
miles.
It's mainly for a low traffic type area. For pavement is just kind of gray and still really in good condition. It really wouldn't qualify on our side for resurfacing, but like I said, it's when the pavement's just started to oxidize. But
Because I wanted to go see that, and I never did see what they did up there.
Charlie, the gray is not worth us looking at, I don't think.
The what?
The gray, what he's
Yeah.
talking about, Elmore County, it's
Yeah.
a gray that looks regular. What I'm talking about, that we had a company, that we had a price, and then I think I talked to you about it, then they came back and said it wasn't big enough, they're gonna
Yeah.
charge us more.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's solid black, looks like your street has been paved, and it adds 5 to 7 years.
Yeah,
Plus,
5
it
to 7
takes out the trash truck leak stains, you know, the stuff that comes out of the trash trucks.
Yeah, I
And I mean,
know.
it looks like a brand new street.
Okay. Let's look at it. We'll talk to Chris about it and get it in the budget. Okay? Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Okay. Item number 2. Betty. There you are. Money lady is here. All right. Ms. Beeble's here to talk to us about item number 2. All right, pay attention. Betty, I can't hear you.
Hi. Can you
Okay,
hear
now I
me?
can.
Can you hear me?
Why don't you pull your mic down? Pull your,
Oh, I have
pull your mask down.
not if I'm gonna talk into this, especially when everybody's coming up.
Okay, go ahead.
We don't know
All
how
right,
long
okay.
those germs are in the air, so I'll keep
Okay.
it on. I can talk loud enough. I
Okay,
promise.
good deal.
Okay, basically, we're asking for this resolution because I would like to make sure that the city is in a position where if the worst case scenario comes up, that we have got a cushion in our budget if we do not meet $244.4 million in revenue, okay? And the way I would like to do this is to restructure some of the city's debt. We've got a 2012 B issue that has got some hefty payments coming up in the current fiscal year. Even though it's budgeted, I'd rather see that payment on the backside of the debt service total payments rather than on the front side where we are now. And it also includes a payment that we've got coming up, I think in February, for about $4 million. So we're talking about a total here of about $37.5 million to get refunded in a sense, okay, or refinanced.
Is this, so this actually does the refinancing, it doesn't, it's not a look-see, it's the final deal?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Is this the final
No,
financing?
no. This is gonna be a two-part deal. This is just restructuring, and hopefully sometime in February, March timeframe, we're gonna look at doing a refunding on the bond market, okay?
Okay, because
With some other issues that are coming up. But this is nothing but trying to get some of the debt we've got now at a higher rate, bond
right,
rate, down to a lower rate, because money is, you know, it's cheaper to.
yeah, looking at debt
refinance.
service, it's getting high.
Right,
Debt
and we're
service
in
getting
the highest years that we're gonna be in probably the next 4 or 5 years, and we're trying to bring that down.
But I know we've got some issues in Parks and Rec and some other issues where we're gonna have some money to catch up with the competition, and I think that's something we got to talk to Mayor
Well,
about.
this is a private placement, we're not going to the bond market.
Okay.
That'll be the next one in February.
That'll be the next part of it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
But these are now called, the bonds that I'm mentioning to you now, the 2012B, and a portion of, well, it's not called on in the 2015, but we've got a payment that we want to include with this resolution so that we can move forward and go ahead and hopefully get it refunded.
Okay.
So Betty, you're saying we're gonna save about $37.5 million?
No, that's what this total issue is.
The total issue on this bond issue? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And we're basically restructuring debt.
Okay.
We're not getting any new money here. Okay? We just want to get what we got at a lesser interest rate than what we've got now.
Okay, yeah, that
Okay?
makes sense. Yeah.
So, nothing new.
Yeah.
Save some money, I hope. I've got one person that's going to vote for it. I already see his face over here saying yes. How's that?
Okay, any other questions, Ms. Beagle?
No.
Y'all
Nothing?
good? Everybody good?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Number 3 is in my district, and I'm okay with it. It's a grill that's always had a liquor license, so it's a good check. And they're new operators and good folks. Number 4,
I'm totally against it.
you gonna be against this one?
It's back in the neighborhood, and I don't think it'll be a good idea.
Okay, all right. Number 5 is in my district, and I got no problem with it. It come in before the new, but it fits anyway. So I'm good with number 5. Number 6 is Perry Hill Road. That's one, I think that's yours, Richard.
I'm good with that
You
one.
good with that one? I
And,
think
and
it fits.
he'll speak to the hours tonight. He actually will work what the strip center does and closes early, so.
Okay, good deal. Number 7, this is on Troy Highway. Is this yours, CC?
That should be
That's
mine.
yours, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have a lot of opposition against that, so I am
You do?
against that.
What's happening on our deal, Daisy, about the one on Carter Hill Road? We turned that one down. Where are we at on that situation?
I'm not, we had 3 that were all backed out, but I can tell you they're all just pending. In the circuit court, waiting to get a ruling on them, from them.
Okay, so they're still in court.
They are.
Okay. All right, number 8. This is the,
This is a
just
911.
making Stacy put the station on the board for the,
Yeah.
for the Emergency Communications District. That's fine. And then we got tear them down. And what's that?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Construction and whatever. Okay. Let me just give you, all of you, an idea. Let me talk to you a second.
Hey, Charlie, I got something I want to bring up.
Let me just say this first, okay, and then I'll let you have that. Mr. Larkin's sick. He's not going to be here for quite a while. And as an interim, as a decision of the chair, I'm going to ask that Mr. Calhoun serve as the interim pro tem of the council. That's my request, and I hope you would accept that, Mr. Calhoun. Anybody got any opposition to that?
Heck yes, we have discussion.
I just we need the help, and Mr. Calhoun's a proven leader, so I'd like to have him help us out, okay? That kind of cleans up things if I want to leave.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. But
All right, now, Mr. Calhoun, go ahead.
Does that require a vote? Does that require a vote?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get our chance on it.
You'll have to do it in the regular meeting. You can't do it in the work session.
Oh, yeah, I know, I
He was
just was
just-
asking, didn't it require a vote? I just wanted to know.
He can do it with the consensus of the
Yeah, we
council.
got
You can
time.
vote.
If he's here.
For me, it's up for me, but I'm just saying, we voted one in, how we just change somebody else without doing a vote?
We'll have to vote at the count, yeah.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
guess there's a vote necessary,
Yep.
is there? Because it's an interim job.
Yeah, it just, so, whatever
Well,
the will of the council.
if they
I'm
don't
fine.
vote, then it will have to be reported as consensus.
I'm sorry?
If they don't vote, then it'll have to be reported as consensus of the council because it takes the body whole
Okay,
to
yeah.
concur with it.
I'm okay with it being consensus, And we can vote, but yeah, I think everybody vote, whichever way. What's the place, huh? What? What, Mr. Graham?
Hey, Mr. Jenright, I mean, we discussed
No,
this.
for
I'm
it.
trying to
Okay.
get some information, and I think it might need to come out of finance or zoning on this. I got some emails on bed bath. We kind of discussed what is the bed bath.
On B&B?
Yeah, the ordinance, yeah, Airbnb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Airbnb.
In the
Did
community.
I talk to everybody about that?
What was that?
About
Yeah.
about the income level, I think everybody needs to know that. Okay, Airbnb is a big, big deal, and you don't see it. Haven't heard much out of it in neighborhoods lately,
Yeah, but
but
they paid us $180.
so you haven't heard this week. You had an issue, didn't you, CC?
Yeah, I think, I'm fine with it, but I'm think a lot of the constituents are asking, is there's a process, do it go through the Board of Adjustments? I just think it's like you're renting your property, but you're getting a lot of calls. Is it a Board of Adjustments before you can open up an Airbnb in a community or in a neighborhood? I know like when we go to the beaches, so I'm just trying to get some information to answer the calls that I'm getting about the Airbnb properties.
I think the reason that we talked about this, Betty Biggle and I talked about it earlier, and then in the last administration, we talked about this. And the reality of it is, it's an individual person renting their house out, just like we have renters of homes around the city already. And our law or ordinance covers 5 or more homes, you have to have a license. Under 5, you don't have to have a license. So this doesn't fit in our ordinance at all. But these people fit into our income stream because we have got a nice income stream from these people that we don't have any other way. We all heard, I told the story, we got over $180,000 last year from Airbnb, so we could pave streets with that. Anyway, CC, what do you want to do?
What was that?
What do you want to do with it?
I'm just trying to figure out what's the process.
Yeah, I don't think there, and to have a process, you're going to have to go into having a process for individual rental homes.
Okay, Robert, do you know?
Mr. President, can I say
Yeah,
something?
you can go ahead.
It was under my understanding, CC, part of the conversation about Airbnb coming into town, similar to Uber and taxis, a taxi license, a business license, things like that. And I think, I'm not certain, somebody here can, but the biggest issue was that barrier for business licenses for these Airbnbs and collecting the lodging tax. Okay. And because the lodging tax is collected at the Airbnb level from the consumer that rents, and then the Airbnb remits on a platform-wide thing to the city, that's one of the reasons why it grew, and it grew in every city across America. So I don't know what the 5+ properties on the ordinance. I do know that Airbnb is going public soon. They have taken the COVID thing seriously and cracking down on party houses. So some of the complaints, not a lot, but some of the complaints that I've had in my district, as well as most of you, have been, hey, let's book an Airbnb and have a massive party in it. To me, that could happen under normal circumstances, whether somebody else from out of town rents it or teenagers throw a party in their parents' house.
Or you lease it to?
Correct.
I don't have a problem with Airbnb. I was just trying to find out the process, because I get calls from Green Acres Association about there's a couple Airbnb properties there, and it's being rented. To me, I understand it as a rental property. It's just like if I'm a property owner, I can rent my property whoever I assume necessary that's going to pay me my rent. Mm-hmm. So I don't see the issue, but I was just trying to see, and I understand what Clay is saying. What's the process? Do we go to Board of Adjustment for that because it is a business, or it just falls up, like he said, up under the Airbnb that comes into the city of Montgomery and buys a license to do this type of stuff?
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not totally for sure on what the process is. I mean, I know Airbnb is pretty much a brand new thing, especially for Montgomery, that is. Right. But it was something that I think we're going to try to look into with the zoning ordinance update and rewrite. Mm-hmm. So we make sure that we cover all of the latest and greatest trends that other cities are basically managing and dealing with and handling.
Yeah.
that's the best that I can.
Yeah, and
that
I can
really do.
understand, Clay, you make a great point. You know, when people rent it, you know, anybody, a person that leases the property on an annual basis can have a party, and it can be an issue, but, you know, and I think that's where the problems come in at. I think it's a great business model, and people are getting involved in it. It just, you get those calls.
It's just a matter of how is it being really regulated and controlled.
Can I add another thing, just quickly? New Orleans,
Big Airbnb.
big Airbnb. This was pre-COVID.
Florida.
This was 2 years ago. I was reading articles and researching. I've researched it quite a bit. The city of New Orleans took a really hard stance on Airbnb, and it really hurt a lot of people financially. Because if you extrapolate 180,000, you know, whatever our lodging tax rate is, multiply that, people are making money here. And so it hurt a lot of people's pocketbooks in New Orleans, and there was a lot of backlash. And so they went a little too far, and then they had to come back and find that middle ground. But that was like a year and a half deal between property owners, Airbnb, and New Orleans.
So basically, your complaint is just, you know, they're concerned about what they're doing in the houses? Is that what it really is?
Yeah, that's basically.
Well, you know what, maybe we should.
I can't hear Audrey.
Can't hear you, Audrey, speak in your mic, please.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. There was one time we were having a conversation about landlords and tenants, and you know, and how when they rent their properties, I know Larkin was trying to really do a big deal on that and holding them accountable. Maybe if we can somewhat kind of come up with something like that, that we don't stifle or hinder the Airbnbs, but yet if it's some kind of nuisance to the community, we can hold somebody liable, and then it kind of, you know, helps keep the community to say, okay, well, there are some regulations or some kind of, you know, assistance for us if it get crazy over there, and not just, well, we can't say anything. They can do what they want to do with it, ain't our business. I mean, we try to hold the property owners, you know, if you live in your house and you're just a nuisance to the community, we try to kind of hold them a little accountable. Maybe if we worked out something like that and we don't bother the Airbnb itself, just if we have to, you know.
But I think that just goes back to enforcement. You know, if you got any, that's the enforcement. And there's nothing we can do legally as far as setting an ordinance, because it has to be enforced. If you don't enforce it, we need to put it.
But if we put one in place, an ordinance in place, if they call, the neighbors call 911 and the police go out and there's 100 people in that house, and we know we under, you know, the COVID right now anyway, and maybe there's some way we can write it up that it goes back up to the property owner. Okay. And, you know, they can, you know, just, you know, have a conversation with their tenants just to say, make sure you're not, you know.
Another quick thing, real quick. It is to my knowledge also, it's kind of funny, especially now during COVID, if anyone reports a party house, anybody can report a party house if it's on Airbnb to Airbnb, and they will take that Airbnb off the platform. Okay. So it is almost, Airbnb is doing a better job than we could do policing the activity, especially now, especially party houses, than we could do ourselves in a way. Every once in a while it'll slip through the crack. I'm not saying it's perfect, but you're rewarded by being a good Airbnb, and you are basically kicked off the platform if you're not.
Makes sense to me.
Mr. President.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks, Clay.
Mr. President, we are moving forward, Montgomery. We're doing some great things with the Garrett Coliseum. The Garrett Coliseum was named after a legislator in 1963 out of Monroeville. That's when it was state-owned. I would like to see us move forward, and I would like to see a name that's recognized in Montgomery to be put on that Garrett Coliseum. A person that has filled in as the mayor here in Montgomery, has plenty of years of dedication, and I would love to see that Garrett Coliseum be named after Mr. Jenwright. That's just a discussion. You know, Mr. Elton Dean did the same thing. Why should we wait until, you know, you have passed away to give you your flowers if we are able to fulfill them now? And the things that you're doing with that Garrett Coliseum, we are aggressively moving forward. It's synonymous with the city of Montgomery, and I just think that we should put a name on there that represents Montgomery.
I appreciate the thought, but we got a long ways to finish that thing up, and when I finish it up, Let's talk.
Mr. Jenright.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Calhoun.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Calhoun, you are no longer the vice chairman. Mr. Mitchell, you will be now the vice chairman. No,
Mr. Mitchell got me for a pay increase.
that's a good move, Mr. Mitchell. Good
Okay.
move. Mr.
All right, we
Jenright,
want to table that idea.
All right. Hey, I went out, Mr. Jenright, and got Chris Conway. Chris,
Did you?
yeah, could you give us just a 2-minute Reader's Digest version of what we can do to study this process to see if it's something affordable that the city could possibly look at doing? And where we're at, Mr. Reed, or Mr. Mayor, micro resurfacing. I've met many times with Patrick about how we don't need to pave it, but we can get existing life out of our asphalt with black asphalt, and Chris is going to talk to us about that process.
Yeah, so just a little bit about it. I mean, there's a lot of tools that are available to you in your tool belt when it comes to pavement preservation. And so there are many legs to the stool, as they say, kind of in the business. But micro surfacing is a technique that is used, but it has a limited ability to be used. It's not to be used on roads that are in bad shape.
Right.
It's not to be used on roads that probably don't even really need paving. And so that hasn't necessarily been one of the tools in our tool belt, just because we haven't had enough money to say, okay, we're finished with the repair and rehabilitation program, we're going to do some pavement preservation. Although, you know, they always recommend, you know, you should spend 10 or 15% of your paving budget on preserving roads and, you know, lengthening the curve of how long it can stay useful. But as far as its application around here, you know, I've seen it on county roads. I've seen it on, you know, low impact roads, things that aren't traveled very heavily. So, you know, in terms of a residential street, it might have some application. But it does have its drawbacks too, in terms of having to have all the cars off the street and some curing time and just how you physically are able to do it. And most of our people are used to we'll pave down one side of the street, and then by the time we're finished there, that's usable and you can get to the other side of the street. Whereas this might be, you know, you're locked out of your house for a whole day, you know, type of a deal.
No, not on what, and I don't know if Patrick is still here.
Hey, Glenn,
Not
talking
on
to your
what we
mic.
were talking.
In your mic.
Talking to your mic.
We were talking, Chris, there was a process, this last company that we found, there was like a 2-hour dry time on the black asphalt. I don't know about the gray, but the seal coating's the whole day. We don't want to do that.
No, I'm with you. I'm talking about the microsurfacing too. But again, it's you know, you put down a coat that is going to accept the material. Then you got to put. I mean, I'm just saying all these things take time. It may be a 2-hour drying time,
Right.
But I'm saying it's a time to put it down too. You know, it's not going to be immediately ready to dry. I mean,
Right,
you're
but
going to
I'm
have
saying-
to. You're going to have to put down the tack coat, so to speak. You're going to have to put down the material. This is going to have to dry before you can put anything on it. And it may have some possibilities. If you're wondering whether or not we can get in that game, we don't have the equipment to do it now, but we can find out what that would take. And so just
let's do that.
long story short, we can figure out what would it cost to get a piece of equipment. We don't currently have anybody that has done it or
Right.
you know, knows anything about
Chris.
it, but we can look into it.
Let me ask you a question. Is anybody else in the state of Alabama using that in their cities? Like Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Mobile?
I don't know of any cities that are using it. I know counties are using it a good deal. I know Elmore County and maybe even Autauga County have used it on, like you say, some of those very low impact roads, low volume roadways. But again, they're just, you know, they have the wherewithal to kind of do that extra step rather than, because they're not addressing a road that needs paving when they do that.
They're just doing
They're just,
upgrade.
All it is, Charlie, it's cosmetics.
I know.
Bottom line,
I know.
and
I've
you
looked
guys-
at it.
well,
I've studied it.
it's a little more than cosmetic.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
it provides
run
protection
its
for that
surface.
base layer and extends the
Liquid.
life of your pavement. For us, you know, you wouldn't have to necessarily mill. You know, you'd be able to put it right there with a
Yeah,
curb
let me ask
gutter.
this, Chris. If you did just regular paving at 1.5 inches, will it stay?
if we do.
You do
regular-
regular asphalt paving, and how much do you use now? Do you two inch,
Typically an inch overload.
No, we're usually an inch and a half.
inch and a half? Oh, yeah, that's what you're laying now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. President.
I mean, it depends. I mean, if it's a heavily traveled road, we may put 2.5 inches. I
Okay.
mean,
Right.
we may mill 4 and put back 4. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
okay.
depends on what but there's no, one size fits all
Well,
when it
you-
comes to paving for sure.
it's
It
just-
also,
works.
Charlie, it also goes under our thing where we're doing a full street where you're looking at curb and gutter and
Oh, yeah.
everything else there.
Yeah.
So,
But I'll be happy to look and see what the
See what the cost would
what
be.
the
I mean-
cost would be for us to kind of get into that.
Because
into
there's
that
certain,
game.
certain applications you could use it for, not all, but certain. But like when you do like you talk about, Richard, when you do the curb and gutters, you clean it up because, in my opinion, we don't need to go back to doing what Norman Bridge Road ended up being years ago. Had to put a new curb and gutter in because we didn't pour so much asphalt down there.
Right.
And we don't need to be doing that. And
Right.
But what you do now, when you cut them back, it takes a lot longer to do. To
And a
cut
lot
'em.
more money.
Like Zelda didn't take near long to do what you did, but that's the old way of doing it.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
So anyway, look at it, see what you can do, see what we got.
yeah, thank you.
Ms.
Thank you.
Mr.
Ms.
President.
Conway,
Yes, sir, Mr.
thank you
Calhoun.
for whole Old Selma Road. Man, it looks excellent. I had people call me up and say, I'm just riding it to ride it. I'm not going
That's
anywhere,
good.
but it's so smooth.
Are you suggesting that we change the name to New Selma Road?
No, I'm talking about the asphalt we got
No.
down on Old Selma Road.
New road.
No, but I mean, it
Oh,
kind of
man.
doesn't make any sense to call it Old Selma Road anymore. It's brand new.
Oh, it is, right? Yeah, but I tell you, listen, they called me, they was like, well, we just riding to be riding. We're not going anywhere, but it's so smooth.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
don't wear it
nice.
out too fast, though. Don't ride it too much. So
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Siebel's Road too, Mr.
Yeah, very
Calhoun.
good, very nice,
I
very
don't know if
nice.
you were gonna mention that or
Yeah,
not.
very nice. New Siebel's Road. The
Siebel's
new
Road.
Siebel's Road. I
New
appreciate
Siebel's
it.
Road.
New Siebel's.
New Selma Road, New Siebel's
We need to
Road.
get some of that split out of District 6, not all out of District 5.
Some of the what?
Oh, is he
Money.
splitting it with? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
More people from District 6 travel Siebel's Road than District 5.
Tell them to take the shortcut.
Hey, Mr. President,
Okay, yes, sir.
we ready for adjournment before we can catch
No, I
Yeah,
got one other.
Got one other thing.
Mr. Calhoun, I know you received a letter probably about 2 weeks ago. Have we followed up on that complaint about that coding investigator that you was asking about?
Who, me?
Yeah, you had the letter. About Mr. Guest?
Oh, I was gonna bring that back up tonight to see where we was today.
Okay, that's all.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any adjourned till 5 o'clock.